Well, the Houston Astros dropped game one of the series versus the Padres. You had a solidly pitched game by both pitchers. Unfortunately, the Padres did more damage. But Luis Ariz did something he hasn't done in 141 at-bats. We'll talk about that in this edition of Locked On Astros.
Jainel Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we update you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talkstros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on X and on Facebook. They can also find me at Back to the Bullpen on X, on Instagram, anywhere you get your podcast. Look, I'm always positive, always Stros. Positive that this is not the first of a late game series that I wanted the Astros to play in, but you know what? Sometimes this is just a really good team that you're playing, and they just do a little bit more than you do. I do like what I saw out of Arrighetti tonight, though. But you know what? Let's get into it.
Guys, thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you for making the Locked On Astros After Dark edition your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead, subscribe to us, and go and become an everyday or somebody listens to our podcast every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. So I know that a lot of us are going to be negative Nancy's right now. Well, we just beat the Angels, and now we're playing one of the best teams in baseball. This is a team that, if it wasn't for the Dodgers, they would be in first place in the NL West. And so the Padres, they have a great offense. Their pitching, their bullpen is great. Their starting pitching this year has not been the best, but it has been rebounded a little bit recently. But this is a team that is likely going to go deep into the playoffs. They potentially could go to the World Series if their pitching, specifically their starting pitching, turns it around a little bit. But we saw a playoff matchup. This is not something you could say versus Angels. It's not something you could say versus A's. This was you could feel the intensity. You heard all the Astros fans there. You heard the Let's Go Astros chants, and you heard the Padres trying to go, let's go Padres, and booing and everything. And so this felt like a playoff matchup. Yu Darvish came out and he dealt, and it looked like he was in total control of this game. And Spencer Arrighetti, to his credit, he allowed that one run, then he allowed that home run to what's his face, the rookie. I can't think of his name, Merrill, Jackson Merrill. But overall, it was a good start for Arrighetti, and this is a kind of statement game for Arrighetti. Yes, he did give up the 2 runs, but it could have been much, much worse.
No, yeah, definitely. The storyline, I think, here is, Yu Darvish, Altuve with the multi-hit game, but outside of that, you didn't really have much going. The 6 hits, the 1 run, you're not going to win much against a team like the Padres. And Yu Darvish didn't even have as many swings and misses as Spencer Arrighetti did. Arrighetti actually had more swings and misses with 11. Yu Darvish had 7, but he induced a lot of ground. I mean, he basically created the outs. And this is a guy that we saw years ago when he was in a Rangers uniform. We saw him, nearly like perfect game, the Houston Astros. I mean, this guy has had his success against us. And yeah, he's older.
Dodgers too.
Yeah. And I mean, he's older in his career, and we had people making comments on the channel. Oh, this is Yu Darvish. He's really old baseball years. But all you have to do is lock in as a major league pitcher. And if you know your stuff is missing bats, and if you know your stuff that is playing close and the umpire's not calling it, that gives you a little bit of breathing room. And so he never really felt uncomfortable. I think there was maybe once that I recall where there were two guys on base at once in the same inning. And I don't even know if Darvish was still on the mound then. I can't recall. But the Houston Astros, they just fell into a really good pitching performance. And on the other side, Arrighetti, like you said, only gave up 2 runs. So it's not like Arrighetti got the break speed off of him. It's not like Arrighetti. I mean, to me, Arrighetti proved that he can go up against a lineup, a roster that is very powerful, and he can hold his own. That's a positive sign. Now, you hope that on the other end of this tomorrow, if you're listening on Tuesday, that the Mariners come out and lose, and that way this game is non-consequential, and it goes back to a 4.5 game lead over the Mariners, because right now you sit at right at an even 4 games over the Mariners going into Tuesday's games.
Yeah, and if you get the win and they lose, then it goes back up to 5. So the Astros have some ways. They have a little bit of room to grow a little bit, but we know there's 12 games left, and the Astros. I was looking at the rotation. We'll definitely talk about the rotation, because something I brought up on yesterday, it has been a big topic around the radio, on the a lot of articles today, is the rotation. Mostly the rotation being set up for the wild card series. Now, yes, you do want to go for the top seed and everything, but if that's out of reach, you want to save your big dogs for the wild card series. And the Astros, as of right now, they wouldn't be doing that. So they might have to restructure their rotation at some point to maybe allow some of the big boys ready for the wild card series, because yes, going for it, like maybe against the Guardians, if there's a chance that you can overtake them for one of the number 2 seed at that point, then sure, run out the big boys, try to get that bye. That is very important. But at some point, if you realize, okay, we're not going to get it, let's go and line up the pitching staff to have everybody ready for October 1st, because that's when basically when the wild card series begins. And so, but going back to Darvish, he did what a lot of veteran pitchers do. And this is something that I wish that Justin Verlander can adapt to. Justin Verlander has adapted to he has always been a strikeout pitcher. And we've seen him over the years kind of become a kind of ground ball, maybe fly ball pitcher, but limit the damage at sometimes. But what we saw was Darvish kind of reinvent himself. And he allowed a lot of contact in this game, but it wasn't that hard contact. It wasn't anything that you had to worry about, pop-ups and everything. And so this is something that Justin Verlander has not been able to do. And so I'm not saying that that Darvish is better than Justin Verlander, but I just think that Verlander's got to figure it out. He's got 2 more starts to decide if he's going to be in the playoff rotation. But credit to Darvish. This is only his 3rd start coming back from being out for a month and a half just for personal reasons. And he's coming back and doing this. And the Astros are a good team. They have a good offense. And Darvish just made them look like a AAA team, so to speak.
Well, I mean, he did, but the Astros, this has been their Achilles heel is the inconsistency of the offense, and we've talked about that a lot. But I'm looking at all his pitches, and he induced 3 swings and misses off of his cutter, his curveball, and his changeup. His cutter was 13 pitches. He had 13 swings. His curveball and changeup both had 8 swings each, and his four seam, he had 24 swings and only 2 whiffs. So he got a lot of swings and misses off of his off-speed stuff. He didn't get any on his sweeper. He got contact on all 5 of those, but he used his pitches effectively. He used the strike zone efficiently and effectively, and he manipulated what the umpire gave him, and that's what a good veteran pitcher does. Mm-hmm. And when you have an inconsistent offense, they almost become powerless, and they seem like to have kryptonite against them when they're at the plate. And hopefully they can come out these next 2 and at least win this series before coming back home.
Yes, definitely. And we'll go and talk about the umpire situation because this is 2 games in a row where one of the Astros bench coaches has been thrown out from a game. And we'll talk about why later. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly when you play $5. America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members like myself. Eric the Man Huysman does it as well. All you have to do is pick more or less than 2 to 6 stat player projections. Watch the winnings roll in. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't want to miss it. Prize Picks has everything you can want. You can now win out to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. So make sure you check out Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly when you play $5. The code is LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Make it your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and make us your first listen. Go and check out Michael Connor as well with the Locked On Astros podcast as well. And I appreciate the 83 of y'all that are listening live. It is 3 minutes before midnight. The Astros are coming off a disappointing 3-1 loss to the Padres, who are a good team, and you are all here. And so I know that a lot of the conversation, even Blummer was getting a little pissed off from the umpires. And we saw Ferguson say, I can't be John Boy, but John Boy would go ahead and say what he said. But that pitch that Ferguson did was right down the strike zone. And it seemed like a lot of the Padres were getting the benefit of the doubt and the Astros weren't getting calls. That one by Ferguson was right down the middle. It was high, but it was at the top of the strike zone, and it was a good pitch. There was several other strikes that were missed, and then you had Centron actually thrown out of the game because of a Yainer Diaz strikeout. And Yainer Diaz couldn't even believe when he went back and looked at that the replay of that pitch. He's like, how did I get called out on that strike? And it's just, I know you can't play, you can't blame a game on an umpire, but you've got to. I know it's probably on both sides, but it just sucks that you have a situation where it seems like this umpire's out to get us. Probably not, but it just seems like all the calls went against us in this game.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a personal vendetta against the Astros. I don't know what these umpires would be motivated to do that, but the calls were pretty egregious. I mean, you just go back and look at that hitter box, and I believe Chandler Rome posted a picture of it. A great tool. Well, actually, it's not a great tool because it can frustrate the what out of you. Don't look at the batter's box during a close game where the Astros aren't getting strikes, because it'll make you so mad when you go, how did you miss that? And that was with Caleb Ferguson. Caleb Ferguson basically threw 4 strikes, and all of them were pretty much called balls, and then one of them was hit. So
right.
That is the issue. And like you said, Eric, I don't think it's about you or me making the case that we're blaming the umpires per se, because it is up to the Astros to get hits. But in a close game, when you have guys that are up to hit and they're getting called out on pitches that are out of the zone as strikes, and the pitchers from that same team are getting called balls in pitches that are in the zone that are strikes, it makes it very difficult to win, because baseball, as much as Rob Manfred and his cronies want to make baseball an offensive game and want to create offense and all this stuff and change the rules, sometimes baseball doesn't allow you, by its definition, to score a lot of runs. It's about who gets that one run in that one inning, who has that quote unquote outpouring of runs, which is only 2 sometimes. And that's why it's critical for these umpires to get it right. We know the human error is part of the game, but if human error is part of the game, you don't want it altering the outcome for a team, Eric. And so I think if Yu Darvish hadn't been playing so well and pitching so well and inducing a lot of outs, that I would have a much more difficult time with it. Like if
Right.
these guys were going down with Gowns second and third, and they had a chance to really make a run and score some runs, it might hurt a little bit differently. But at the same time, it is definitely one of those things where you go, what's going on here?
All right, so I do want to address two things in a comment. Robert does say that Espada needs to stand up for players, not let the other coaches do it. I think he has been, but the other coaches are getting a little bit more emotional about it. But we do see Espada getting a little bit more livid. Like he actually had to go out there and have some words with the umpires as well. So I think we've seen a little bit different Joe Espada than the beginning of the season, and I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt. I know at the beginning of the season, we gave him a little bit of crap for saying, oh, shucks. I'm sorry. Can you just go and throw me out? So it looks like I argued, but I think we've seen a little bit better thing. But I think Centrone was just like, I've had enough. And he's tired because those are his hitters out there. So those are his guys and these guys that he works with every day. So he was just like, I'm done. And then you had Miller the day before, same issue. He's like, why are you not giving us the calls? And so I think it's you. Yes, Espada is the guy, but these guys work with these guys every day. So it's they have more of that personal relationship. So yes, should Espada speak up for them more? Yes. And we do have some breaking news. Matt Gamel is going on to IL. So he is, yes.
You mean Ben Gamel?
Ben Gamel. I don't know why I keep on saying Matt Gamel, but I keep on thinking Matt Gage. I keep on getting the two of them
Matt Gamel.
Ben Gamel. Okay, Brett, just let it go. Brett, let it go. All right. So Ben Gamel is going on the IL with leg. I had it here, but you messed me up. So with IL with left knee contusion.
Okay,
so,
left knee contusion. Yeah, no, I had seen that, and I was like, well, there you go. You know, Ben Gamel has been basically helping this team out. You know, he hasn't been great, but he's been really good. You know, to get more happy about things tonight, Jason Hayward threw an absolute bullet and gunned down Luis Ariz.
95.4, I think.
That was that was a throw. I was like, he needs to do some drills with Chaz and with Jake and say, guys, this is how you throw a guy out at home. Look, Hayward, Eric, could have some key crucial moments in the playoffs, and it may not be with his bat. I was a little curious why he was in there against Darvish, being like he was like 1 for 7 or 1 for 15 or whatever he is in his career. He had a lot of, you know, he didn't have a lot of success in there, but when he was in there and he made that throw, I was like, good job. But yeah, you hate to see Ben Gamel. Hopefully it's not something that will take him out too long. Hopefully it will be a short-lived stint there.
All right. So I know that the Astros have a rotation that's a 6-man rotation right now, but they have to consider if you go, the Astros have 12 games left. So I went through and I made a little breakdown of everything.
Wow.
So it's going to be Brown, Valdez, Kikuchi, Verlander, Blanco, Arrighetti, Brown, Valdez, Kikuchi. I think I missed somebody. Verlander, then Blanco again, and then Valdez. So you can go ahead and, if you need to, you can go ahead and skip Blanco at the end and just go ahead and throw Valdez and Brown. But I would go ahead and try to save Valdez and Brown for the wild card round. I think those two are your two best pitchers, and then try to save Kikuchi as well. So try to do whatever it takes to save those two guys. If you have to have a bullpen game at the final game of the season just to kind of save some arms, you can do that. That's just my opinion. But now, if you are, we'll have to continue this conversation. I want to hear your thoughts, Brett. But now, if you are trying to get that bye and you're within a game or maybe tied with the Guardians, you might have to have other thoughts at that point. But the Astros are now, I believe, they were 4.5 games before today. I don't know what the Guardians did, but the Astros they have to see where they are at that time. So we'll go and continue this conversation. We'll go and look up what the Guardians did today. But guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Astros. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com today. It is America's #1 sportsbook. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. Well, we got something a little bit different for you. Something that will please your listening ears and your watching eyes. That's right. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and you'll get 3 weeks free of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. That's right. Then with your YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account, a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. From money lines to prop bets and so much more, FanDuel.com is America's #1 sportsbook. Check it out. Download it today. It is America's #1 sportsbook.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Why don't you go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. Even if you're not a fan of the Houston Astros, we appreciate you stopping by to go ahead and offer your opinion. But we are Astros fans here. We support all the Astros fans that come here to go ahead and become part of the Locked On Astros Nation. So we do appreciate you, everybody that's up here, the 86 people. It is now officially after midnight. It's now 12:07. So we appreciate everybody that has done this and made us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify. Go ahead and subscribe to us and go and make us your first listen. So Brett, I kind of laid out the rotation and I want to hear your thoughts on that. And then we also, anything else?
Well, I just, you are going to have to go Valdez and Brown in your first series. So whatever chess you have to play when it comes to baseball, do it. Get your rotation in order. You had mentioned the Guardians. I don't know that we catch them. The Guardians are 87 and 64. The Astros are 81 and 69. I'm not sure we catch them. The Astros have to be consistent, have to go on a little bit of a hot streak, win these next 2 games there against the Padres, and we play Seattle when we come back home.
You play the Angels 4 times.
I know, yeah, but I'm just saying, you play Seattle 3 times, you play the Angels 4 times, and then you have the final series against the Guardians.
Right.
Just I don't like right now. Getting that division, I think, is the most important. Getting just in the playoffs as a division leader. Don't worry about anything else. And I think the Astros, they know well enough the game plan and what to do in order to order. In other words, they're not going to go into the playoffs and go, oh, crap, we can't start either one of these guys. They're going to go in with their ducks in a row. And so they will finagle the rotation any way they can. And so at the end of the day, it's really, really cool that we have the pitchers we have, because hopefully our pitchers in the playoffs will neutralize the other offenses and it'll be the best of the best. And I think it'll mean good things for Houston.
Yeah, and there's the Astros still have to take care of business, so they still got to hold off the Mariners. They got to go and get the magic number down to 0. And yes, I did see that the Tigers are within striking distance of becoming a wild card team. Yeah. So this would be interesting if you have the Astros versus AJ Hinch. in the wild card series. I mean, I say AJ Hinch, but of course we mean the Tigers. But you know, I mean, it's like the old coach versus the current Astros, and
Right.
I know it has that sentimental feeling, but at the same time, it's like let's go ahead and take his team out. So the Tigers have made an impressive turnaround, but so have the Astros. The Astros have totally turned things around from the beginning of the season, and it's just amazing how. This is before today's game. Since April 27th, the Astros record was 74-49. It's topping winning percentage in baseball at 602. The Astros are also 56-35 since June 1st, 7 wins more than any other AL team. So I know that Joe Spot is probably not going to win the manager of the year, but he should get some consideration considering how bad this team started and then how he climbed out of it. And I know that we all talked at the beginning of the year, oh yeah, maybe we should find somebody else, but we had to be patient a little bit. And so I think he's finally hit his stride a little bit. And so I think he deserves at least a couple more years to see what he can do with the full squad. And one thing that came up today with Scott Boras, I don't know if you saw this, but he said that Alex Bregman is willing to play second base to anybody that wants to sign him. I think he's targeting the Red Sox, who need a second baseman.
I mean, I hear a lot of talk about Alex Bregman in Boston, and I would much rather him be in a Red Sox uniform than in a Yankee uniform or a Dodgers uniform.
Seattle. Ooh, Seattle would kill me. Ooh.
I just see, but I don't see Seattle happening. I just don't. Like, I don't see that happening, Eric. I think this guy, Alex Bregman, has enough in him to where he dislikes a team like Seattle way too much. He dislikes the Yankees and the Dodgers way too much. And I know what you're going to say, money, but
money.
I understand that, but I don't think look, I have no idea what Seattle's going to do in the offseason. That is one of the potential landing points. The Astros obviously is a landing point, but it's a lot less likely, I think, him coming back. But I was looking at the notes before the game started, and like you had mentioned, you know, the Astros have the top record, not just in the AL, but in the entire league since all the way back to April. If you go to April 27th, 74-49. And it is a remarkable turnaround by Joe Espada. I still question sometimes the deployment of the bullpen, the lineup construction, but I mean, you can split hairs any day on baseball. You can nitpick all of the, you know, little things. But if we're going to nitpick, why don't we talk about Spencer Arrighetti getting Luis Arraez to strike out for the first time in 141 at bats. He hadn't had a strikeout, which is a pretty remarkable run. I mean, this guy is really up there, getting close to like Tony Gwynn type stuff, where you have guys that went 170. There's a guy that went 221, I think, consecutive at bats without striking out. And this guy just hits. And the fact that he's on the Padres and they were able to pick him up is amazing because he hits the ball. When he was struck out by Arrighetti, he didn't have a chance of hitting that ball. I don't know why he swung at it, but that is what they needed more of. And then, like you said, Yu Darvish, you had mentioned the soft contact. To me, it almost was like the Astros didn't even have a real bat they were using. I mean, it was almost like they were using a plastic bat. The ball just was not flying off their bats hardly. I was like, are they playing with cracked bats? What is going on? Because everything they hit, even Yordan's hit to the outfield, it just died. And so whatever they did tonight, they neutralized it. Hopefully the Astros can get over that hump and we can win these next two games in San Diego.
So I know that the Space Cowboys are actually playing in the playoffs right now. And so we don't know who's going to be the corresponding move for Gamel going on IL. Do you have any idea of who that you think it would be?
I have no clue right now. I mean, I have no idea. I'm not even looking at either roster, so no.
I'm looking at the Space Cowboys roster, and I'm thinking it's either going to be DeZenzo, who played left
Oh,
field.
yeah.
Maybe you can bring up Cabbage.
Probably. I mean, Trey Cabbage has been hitting the ball really, really well.
Yeah.
I know it's AAA, but why not bring up Trey Cabbage? I think him over DeCenzo right now just makes more sense because he fills that outfield spot more than DeCenzo does. So yeah, I think it would be Cabbage. That would make sense.
Yeah. So I think it's a matter of who's been down
Pedro?
there the longest. They have to be
Pedro?
down there 10 days. Keep that in mind.
Well, Pedro's been hitting better, but I think Cabbage has caught more fire. I would have to look at their splits the last 7 to 14 games.
Right.
But it would be Cabbage or Leon, I think, would be the most likely to come up.
Yeah, so we'll see who the corresponding move is tomorrow. But tomorrow's game is definitely going to be something the Astros need to take care of. And you have Hunter Brown, 11-8 with 3.59 ERA versus Michael Keane, who's 12-9 with the 3.06 ERA. He has 191 strikeouts.
Wow.
This guy was on the Yankees last year. He was a reliever, and they're like, you know what? Let's go and convert this guy to a starter. And shucks, just like what the Astros did with Nel Blanco, it worked. And then they traded him in offseason, and now he's a good starter with the Padres. So this is going to be a tough matchup. The Astros have faced Keane before last year with the Yankees. So I think this will be a great game, another well-pitched game, another playoff atmosphere. So guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us first listen, Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make us your first listen, and we'll see you tomorrow. And Brett, what do we say?
Go Stros.
Go Stros. We'll see you tomorrow.